record. Okay, there we go. To open the chat as well. Okay. Give me a little wave, those of you who have your camera on, if you're doing okay today. Your smiling faces, I can see by your smiles that you're doing all right. Life is full of ups and downs, I know, and yeah, it's a joy and a wonder that we can come together in any way, whether virtually or in person. Yesterday I was in a shopping mall with my husband, and there was a celebration going on for the Lunar New Year. It's maybe about a week late because I think the official date was last weekend, but they had this big celebration going on, and there were a lot of different dance performances from different parts of Asia. And it was so beautiful, and I was just seeing how everyone's hearts were being so moved by the beauty of the dancing and the music. And yeah, this was just in my mind how special it is anytime we can come together with others and focus on the same thing and find our hearts be moved together. What to speak of when that thing is connected to the supreme, to divine knowledge, to divine service. So thank you again for being here. So for any of you who haven't taken part in these meetings before, we usually start at some point with an invocation. So I think we'll do that now. And today I wanted to speak about, although I feel very, I don't know, I feel unprepared and unqualified as usual. But I wanted to speak about a special personality. We spoke about him last year around this time. I was thinking, I hope I don't just say all the same things as last year, but that's okay as well. But a great saint, a great divine personality in the Bhakti tradition, especially the one that I've been raised in, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And this week, I think it's on Wednesday, is his, at least in my time zone, his appearance day, or his day of manifestation. Sometimes we say a birthday. And so he's a very important person to connect with, especially for those who are, aspirants on the spiritual path, especially for those of us who feel like we're struggling, who feel like being a spiritual person in a material world is a difficult thing. It's advised, it's been advised by great masters and teachers that we meditate on him, take shelter of him. And I admittedly, I feel I could do a much better job of doing that. And so I'm grateful for the chance to share a bit about him, because that gives me the excuse and the reason to think about him, to meditate on him. And that's something that these days in the calendar also do. And many different religious traditions have such days, saints' days and sacred holidays upon which we meditate on divine grace and how we can be more connected, more plugged in. So we'll do our invocation, and then we'll speak a bit more about him. We're going to sing a song that is about him together. And I also wanted to speak to, hi Belinda, great to see you. I also wanted to speak to a question or a point that now my mind is blanking. I can't remember who it was that asked the question in the chat on one of my posts, but she was just saying how difficult it is to, again, to this point, being in trying to do spiritual things, trying to have a spiritual consciousness while just living the day-to-day life that we live. And I was mentioning, I told her, yes, we can speak about this a bit. And I was saying that I had a very, visceral experience of this just recently, because I was in India I was at the Govardhan Eco Village. It was such a beautiful, immersive, devotional environment with so many people who were like-minded, and in such environments, it can feel, almost, you don't want to say easy because it seems like it's tempting fate to suddenly make something hard, like you get sick or something like that. But it could seem easy. There's a flow that is moving you in the direction that you want to go to, versus when sometimes we're just in our day-to-day life, because there are so many things around us which may not be so supportive of the type of consciousness we want to have. And that's, in one sense, nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? And it's our challenge and our task to find a way of working with that. But it can be bewildering, how to make the best of our situation. And I definitely struggle with the same. So I can't say I have all the answers, but I can share as a friend who's also, challenged in the same way. And I'd be interested to hear when we get to that part of anyone's, insights. We all have our own experiences, which are very valuable, and insights. So if you're hearing any little sounds as we go along of bells ringing and such, my husband is doing his puja over here behind the camera. But let's begin our invocation. Let's close our eyes. Let's do 3 ohms all together. Sorry. I have a frog in my throat all of a sudden. I don't know why. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। Let's do the Maha Mantra together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all. So I always try and give a little update also on things I've been doing. This past 2 weeks now, we're having less of a gap between the times that we meet, and already that feels so nice. I really appreciate seeing you all more regularly. The album that I had mentioned that I was working on and finishing, the mixes are being done. The mixes are the second to last stage before mastering, and those are starting to come in now. So we're starting to look at when we're going to release it. It's such a long process. It's like baking a cake that takes a very, very long time. It's like, yeah, it takes years to bake sometimes. And you don't want to over bake it because then it's kind of very dry and not tasteful. But that often is how it feels towards the end of a project. You don't really want to listen to it. You don't think it even sounds good, and you think, why did I even do this? I don't think anyone else is going to like it either. And it's a very real, yeah, it's a very real experience that happens, at least for me, almost every time I try to create something. Of course, the saving grace in that is, the concept of devotional offering that we find in the Gita, that whatever we offer, it's the devotion that matters, whether it's a leaf, a flower, a fruit, a little bit of water, a musical album, our vocation, the way that we dedicate our hours of the day, raising a child, whatever it is, it's not the thing that matters so much as the intention, the consciousness behind it. And it's a saving grace because, yeah, you can do such wonderful things, beautiful things. And if the consciousness is not very nice behind it, you may even have a lot of success in the world, but there's bound to be a point where everything starts to break down a bit because it's not properly aligned, our actions. So recently I'd also been hearing, I don't know if any of you are aware of the book by Rick Rubin. He's a famous music producer, and he wrote a book recently called The Creative Act. And it's quite an interesting, beautiful book, actually. And I recommend it even if you don't identify with being an artist specifically or a creative person. I think it's a book that actually anyone could get something from. And some of the points he brings out are very aligned with Bhakti philosophy. He really speaks about creation as an act of devotion. It's not about what other people think of it. It's about your intention to offer this to the Lord. He doesn't say the Lord, but I'm putting it into my own words. So I really appreciated hearing him speak some of those ideas on a wider scale. He's a very, very respected person. I don't know if any of you have been fans of, hip hop music. He founded a very famous record label with others called Def Jam. And he's produced music for many, many popular artists over decades. So he's extremely respected. Yeah, not only produce music, but music that has commercially done very, very well. So, where there's money, there's usually some respect, money and success. But he's a very thoughtful person. And yeah, I found some of those insights to be very helpful on my journey. Because whatever we're offering, it's so natural for the ego to get very invested and involved. I remember, we're going to speak a little bit about Lord Nityananda and the place where he is from, at least the place where he chose to appear, is in Bengal, West Bengal, and the place called Mayapur there, which is so sacred to followers of Sri Chaitanya. I was there some years ago, and I got the opportunity to help with creating a beautiful flower decoration for the main altar of the deity forms of Shri Shri Radha Madhava and the Ashtasakis, their gopis. And we stayed up all night doing this flower decoration. And, some of it was repetitive. It was like taking these beautiful tube roses and gardenias and sticking them with hot glue onto a fabric to create flowered floral dresses, the most incredible flower dresses. And it was such a meditation. There was at least 100 people in a big hall, all working on little aspects of it. And then I got such a great privilege I got asked to make the crown with flowers and leaves, and I was told you can make it in whatever design you like, and this will go on the head of the small Krishna. They normally have the large deities and then small ones that they use for festivals to bring them out and put them on a boat or things like that. So I was like, wow, this is such an amazing privilege, and I felt so excited to also be creative in what, create my own design. And and so I did it. I spent a long time on it. And um, this is I think maybe a positive example of pride and ego, because when the curtains opened and the darshan was there the next morning, I felt such a pride, in a humbled way to see something that I had created on Krishna's head. It felt so heartwarming, so touching. And and it was also just one small aspect of this big creation that everybody had been part of. So many hundreds of hands had been part of. So maybe that was actually, I was trying to remember, was that like a negative example? I think that was actually a positive one. But a funny negative one was when a friend and I decided to make a devotional offering of bowing down, going all the way around the sacred place of Radha Kund. It's very, very topmost sacred place in Vrindavan. And sometimes people offer their respects by bowing down repeatedly and going all the way around like that. It takes, maybe 4 or 5 hours. And I'd never done anything like that. I knew it would be physically demanding, and I was quite daunted. But I thought, it's going to be good. It's very humbling. It's good for the ego to kind of place your body in that position, putting your head down on the ground. But it was interesting, like as the time went on, I did feel humbled. It was a very intense experience. But these people arrived who were out taking photographs. They were also, pilgrims there, and they had like a big DSLR camera. They were out in the early morning shooting, and they saw us doing that, and they started taking photos, just, kind of artistic photos. But immediately I had that feeling of starting to have someone seeing what I'm doing and observing it and capturing it. And so that kind of awoke this kind of self-consciousness. And then I remember I was going down again to bow, and I noticed that right next to my head was like someone had spit on the ground, and there was like a big glob of spit and some like, stool from a monkey or something. And the thought just flashed in my mind, involuntarily, like, oh, how humble I am. Like, oh, I'm so humble. Look at me, kind of thing. And immediately I was like, oh my God, what's the ego is so sneaky that even when you're trying to do something which genuinely is very humbling, your, your mind and ego still want to kind of um, look and say, oh, how humble I am. Everyone should notice this. So yeah, the mind and ego, they're very sneaky and a very core part of the spiritual journey in you know, in whatever path one may be following, even within different traditions, is realizing that I am not the mind. I am not the false sense of ego. We all have an ego, which is also a healthy sense of identity as we move through this life, but the false ego that says that, you know, I am the center of this world. I am the controller. I am the enjoyer. So these things are not so easy to realize because it's habitual, and habits are hard to break. So let us go into this song, because I'm seeing how the time is flying by, and maybe actually if anyone has a point or something they wanted to share on that. I mean, I'm watching the chat, and so I'll see also if you give a little comment there. Sanjeev, you just asked if that's my voice on the Hanuman album, and I think I just wrote you a reply this morning, but yes, it is. And I was mentioning in the message to Sanjeev that when music predominantly was released on CDs, the credits were in the liner notes. So, you know, we didn't always see the credit of artists in like there wasn't any digital form really that you were seeing that so much. So a lot of music that was created in that time in the early 2000s, and of course farther back, when it got transferred to digital platforms, you don't see the people that contributed it to it other than like the main artists who are titled. So yes, I am.
Right. Yes, I thought as much. Very, very wonderful. And maybe you can re-release it on your channel or something. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, awesome. It's awesome.
thank you.
Great.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Uh, um, just while I'm saying something, so just one thought I wanted to share on what one of the questions you started with early on.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is a good time or you want to take this later.
Sure, let's do it now.
Okay, so no, so when we were talking about how we all struggle with the dichotomy of our spiritual aspirations, and on one hand, and then there's this mundane, run of the mill life that we all live. But what I'm realizing more and more, and it's just somehow just dawning on me, that dichotomy is artificial, and
Mhm,
that every moment, no matter what you're doing, I mean, you could be making dinner and
mhm,
it's divine. It's
mhm,
still Krishna in the form of food, and Krishna in the form of whoever is going to eat the food, and Krishna making the food, and
mhm,
so all of that. So if we drop that, or expand our vision of what divine is to include
mhm,
all of it, which it really already is,
mhm,
then we can kind of loosen that hold that this dichotomy has on us. Oh my God, I didn't pray and I didn't
mhm,
meditate, or I didn't
mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Anything and everything we are doing is just all that. So it's just something I want to put out
thank
there.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I think what I was speaking to was more like because that is definitely true, you know, that they're not two separate things, but they can
Exactly.
feel like separate things when our
Right, they
experience
feel.
is such, you know, that
Yes.
that in certain times and places there's an ease to the, you know, and to directing my mind in a spiritual way, and at other
Yeah.
times it feels like an uphill battle,
Uphill battle and
and
a
it's
struggle,
very, very
right?
difficult. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I
Right.
know we all have our own experiences of that nature. Um, so let's go to the song from this song is written by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. I'm going to put a link to this in the chat. Let's see, so you can also look at it. Oops, I seem to have lost it. Oh, here it is. Okay. And in fact, I think I will share my screen. Okay. So this song is called Nitai Pada Kamala. And that means Nitai is a name for Nityananda. Nityananda means always blissful, something that I think we would all want to aspire for. Pada means feet, and Kamala, it means lotus. So the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda. And for anyone who's been swimming in the river of the Bhakti traditions for some time, you know that the referring to feet as lotus feet is that is the poetic metaphor of choice for most poets. The feet are said to be lotus-like because they have the beauty, the exquisiteness, and they offer a cooling shelter. I've often spoken about this story of the first time that I saw a lake full of lotuses. And I realized that I'd never really seen lotuses growing in the wild before because I grew up in England and this was in Australia. And it was such a striking vision. And also there was like this cool breeze that was coming from all these flowers just gently swaying. And it's just all the times that I had heard this phrase, lotus feet, suddenly it made sense to me more fully, more deeply, why the feet are spoken of in this way, divine feet. So Nitai Pada Kamala is a song by Narottam Das Thakur, who is a great Bhakti saint who was living just a bit after the time of Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda. So they were present, 500 and a little bit more, maybe it's 525 or so years ago. And Narottam Das Thakur was he was actually a prince of the king and the queen of a region of Bengal. And he grew up in the palace, and he was, the very, very loved son, but of his parents. But when he was born, an astrologer said you have to be very careful not to let him go near water, especially the Padmavati River, which was not so far away. So the parents always had this fear, that meant he was going to die. Perhaps the astrologer was predicting his death. So they, from childhood, had him watched over at all times of the day by guards, by people that were guardians, basically. And the reason for this was that many, many years before, Sri Chaitanya had been traveling on Sankirtan, singing and dancing with his followers through a village. And suddenly he became overwhelmed and he started to cry out, Narottam, Narottam. And it transpired that he said that I'm going to deposit the essence of my prema, the divine love that I experience here in the river. This is a really wild story. It's really amazing. And it takes also a little bit of faith to hear it. But even if you think, oh my God, that's just crazy, it's okay. It is a crazy story, but true. So he said, I'm going to deposit my prema in this river, in the how do you say it, in the care of Padmavati Devi, the goddess of the river. He asked her to please hold on to this prema, this liquid love. And he said, you will know someone is going to come into the river, and you will know that it's the right person, because when they step into the river, you will feel filled with the same bliss and ecstasy that you feel when I enter the river. Because Sri Chaitanya, as we understand, he's Krishna himself, Radha and Krishna combined. Sorry if you haven't heard that before. I know different people that join these calls have studied to different degrees of this tradition. But when he would enter the water, in any river, Yamuna or anywhere, the water would rise and, you know, almost flood the banks because of the divine ecstasy of the goddess of that river. So he said, you'll know it's the right time when you feel that same way. So many, many years later, Narottam was destined to be this same person. And Sri Chaitanya knew that. He of course knew that. He knows everything. But Narottam's family didn't know that. Narottam himself didn't know that, but he started to have he had actually spent his childhood speaking to pilgrims who had been going between Vrindavan and Mayapur, you know, these sacred places, and Jagannath Puri. They would walk on pilgrimage, and his the kingdom that his father ruled over was a place where the pilgrims would stop, and they had built nice facilities as well for the pilgrims to stop. So when they would come through there, as a young boy, he would ask them questions, and he would hear from them about the things they had seen, about the divine personalities that they worshipped, and he became so deeply attracted. So his story is such a beautiful story. I know we don't have so much time, so I don't want to tell the whole story. I can definitely share some resources, and there's a wonderful book called The Glories of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, I believe. I'll send the link. And I actually had the fortune to help a little bit with that book being published. But it's a really, really beautiful retelling of his story. But this is all to give a little context of the author, because, you know, it's really nice when you sing someone's song to know something about them. So long story short, he managed to escape the guardians that his parents had put around him with great difficulty. He escaped in the middle of the night because he was having dreams that he should come to the river. And he escaped. He got out and went in the night to the Padmavati River. And as soon as he stepped in, just as was predicted, Padmavati Devi felt great bliss and ecstasy, and he was gifted with that divine love that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left for him. But then he had a long journey to go. He wanted to go and meet Sri Chaitanya. He didn't know that Sri Chaitanya and all of his associates, or most of his associates, were no longer present on this planet. They had departed, and he'd not heard that. You know, there was no internet, so he didn't know. He didn't have that news, and so he wanted to journey to Vrindavan. He was trying to find his way. So it was a long journey, and throughout his journeying, throughout his time, he finally did arrive in Vrindavan. So many details about that part of the story, which are so beautiful. But he kept getting these signs, these messages of encouragement, and particularly in one place that he visited, someone appeared to him who was Lord Nityananda in disguise, and he kind of told him, "Don't give up now. Don't give up. Keep going, keep going." And he told him, "You're almost there," because it was such a difficult journey. So that's a little background to Narottam and this song. And he's one of the most famous bhakti poets of his time, of the followers of Sri Chaitanya. His songs are said to be unique because it's the first time that the mention of Sri Chaitanya and his associates and Radha and Krishna were combined in songs. Normally, these two sort of traditions were a little separate, and in his songs they come together. So I wasn't expecting to explain so much about him, so sorry that was a little bit long. Let's read the translation together. Hopefully you can see the screen properly. I'll zoom out a little bit. I'll read the first one. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. Imagine that, or try to imagine. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Okay. Narayani, would you like to read this verse too? If you can see it.
Anyone who has not established his relationship with Nityananda Prabhu is understood to have spoiled his valuable human birth. Such a human being is actually an uncontrollable animal because he never uttered the holy name of Nityananda. He has become merged into so-called material happiness. What can his useless education and family tradition do to help him? Sorry.
You. Sydney, would you like to read the third verse?
Sure. Thank you. Being maddened after false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. The result is that he is accepting something false to be truth. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha Krishna, you must first achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he is merciful towards you, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Therefore, you should finally grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda.
Beautiful, thank you. Martina, you want to read the last one?
The lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental love and service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. This Narottam Das is very unhappy. Therefore, I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. So this is a really beautiful song, and it has been recorded in so many different ways. I will share some links later on so you can hear different tunes and styles of it being sung. I think what I'll do, because I know it's a song that for some people will be unfamiliar, I'll just sing it straight through, and you can try and just join in with me. And then after that, we'll move into the Maha Mantra. And we'll try and really hold on to even just one idea from the translation. Usually I find that with a song that we haven't sung before, or a song where I don't know every aspect of the word-for-word translation, just hanging on to even one idea from it is really powerful. So for me, the idea that I think of the most is this first line, Nitai Pada Kamala, Koti Chandra Sushitala. This means the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. So I heard one time that, you know, whenever you're in distress, whenever you feel like it's just too much, think of Lord Nityananda's feet. And it wasn't something that I was really accustomed to doing. And I started to try it out. I kind of really made it a habit. And I actually found it actually helped me. So I'll share more about that maybe on our message board, and I'll share a picture in case anyone's inspired to try that out. Okay. Let me check my sound. Nitai Pada Kamala, Koti Chandra Sushitala. chaya jagat jurai. I know I said I'll sing it all through, but let's sing just that part again. Nitai pada kamala koti chandra sushitala jai chaya jagat jurai jai chaya jagat Krishna paitena he nanita binibhai Radha Krishna paitena Veda kori daro Veda kori se sambandha nahi jai Treta janma gelota se pashu boro durachar se pashu boro durachar Nitai na bolilo mukhe Majilo samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki karibe kam Vidya kule ki karibe kam Aham kare bhatta haya Nitai pada pasariya Aham kare bhatta haya Nitai pada pasariya Asatya re satya Asatya re satya Nitaya karuna habe Braja Radha Krishna pade Dharani tai charana dukani Dharani tai charana dukani Nitaya charana satya Tahara sevaka nitya Nitai pada Nitai pada sada Narottama bolo dukhi Nitai more kuru sukhi Narottama Koti Chandra Sushitala, Nitai Pala Kamala, Koti Chandra Sushitala. Thank you all for joining in that song. And apologies in advance if it was a little tricky. The melody that I sang is a very traditional one. And yeah, sometimes if our ear is not accustomed to the type of ornamentation or movement of melodies that traditionally come from different parts of India, but in this case, Bengal, it can be hard to follow until you've heard it enough times and you kind of know the movements. But thank you for trying, for everyone who sang along. For some of you, it would be familiar. So I know there's, we have a short time together. Our time is coming to an end, and there's so much that could be said about Sri Nityananda. In many ways, I feel like I've almost said nothing. Thank goodness we read the translation of the song. But I encourage you to seek out hearing and reading about him if you feel inspired. Like I said, let me double check this date is right. It's probably going to be on, it's Wednesday or maybe on Thursday in some time zones, but yeah, it's Wednesday, his birthday, and it's a time, these days are a time to focus our attention. And also it said that there's special grace available on those days for when we make our prayer. So Narottam Das Thakur, at the end of his song, it's traditional that the poet puts their name at the end of the song. He says, Narottama Boroduki. Boro means a lot. Boroduki, I'm very sad. But Nitai More Korosuki, you're always, Nityananda is always Ananda, blissful. So he's offering his prayer that please, drop me into that river flow of your Ananda, your joy. And how does he have that joy? His joy is purely based on constantly feeling this loving devotion to the Lord. So it may feel very far off for a lot of us, but it's said that Sri Nityananda is a person that we can approach and take shelter of. And to that end, although again it's a bigger topic, but the guru that comes into our life, if we're so fortunate to have a guru in our life, and guru can also come in different forms, at different times. There's formal types of gurus, there's informal types of gurus, there's guru in nature, so many different ways. But the guru is said to be the representative of Sri Nityananda, who ultimately is that same Balaram, who's Krishna's brother. It's complicated to explain in 60 seconds, but basically the Shakti of the Guru is that first point of where we want to place our questions, where we want to say, okay, anything that I'm experiencing, the things I'm struggling with, I come before that guru. So in this case, Sri Nityananda can we can approach him directly, but also if we are so fortunate to have a person that is like a guru in our life or is a guru in our life, it's also very, very important to really strengthen that connection, because they are also representing that Sri Nityananda and wanting the best for us, on our spiritual journey, expert at being able to guide us on whatever is the next step. So thank you all so much for listening. I see a few questions here, and I don't mind going a little bit over. Sanjeev asks if there's a way of knowing in advance where I'll be leading a chanting session. Seems like I always find out after the fact on Instagram or YouTube. Yes. So whenever I'm doing like a actual event that I'm leading, that it's like advertised in advance, I'll always put that up on Instagram. I'll at least Instagram. I'll always try and put it in my newsletter, my email newsletter, if you're not already subscribed to that. The reason that some things may not be advertised is because they may be either spontaneous or not open to the public, so I wouldn't have advertised it. So for example, when I was at the Govardhan Eco Village, I was there a few days before the retreat that I was leading. So spontaneously, I got invited to join in with some different groups that were there. But the thing I was there for was actually not open to the public. It was a private retreat. So that's why I didn't say that I was going to be there, because then a lot of people would be asking, like, how can we come and be part of it? So yeah, this is the reason. So I always advertise things that are, planned in advance. And when things aren't planned, what can you say? This spontaneous spontaneity. But hopefully we are able to connect. And yes, you asked, is he not the writer of Hari Hari Bifale Janama Goainu? Yes, he is the writer of that same song. Oh, there's a lot of messages here. Narayani said, it's one of my favorite books. I'm wondering if you're talking about The Creative Act. Was that right? Oh, the Glories of Narottam Das Thakur. Amazing. Okay, Narayani's showing it on her screen. Amazing. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. So you've given your endorsement. The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Yeah, I really recommend it. Yeah, I'll share a link to that for anyone that wants, or you can just Google it. Martina asked a question, based on your personal experience and journey sharing devotional music, how do you manage to maintain an attitude of humble servant and not letting pride and false ego sneak in? How do you respond to compliments and appreciation you receive? Do you welcome the appreciation? Would that be considered humility or pride? That's a great question, and something that, I've been asked before, something that I think about a lot. It's definitely difficult when you're in a position of doing something that people praise you for or feel like, tell you. If someone tells you that you're so amazing and you're so this and so that, it's natural for the ego to kind of respond. And my realization on it after some time, because, I used to feel very uncomfortable when people would give me compliments or praise things that I did. And my realization based on my own thinking and also based on guidance from, elders and gurus is that whatever magnificent thing someone perceives to be coming from me is actually coming from Krishna, because, he says in the Gita, whatever is beautiful and that is able to be seen or perceived is just a spark of my splendor. So I can receive it graciously, because to receive something graciously is part of the loving exchange. If someone tries to give you a gift and you're like, no, I don't deserve that, they don't get the satisfaction of being able to give something. I know for myself, I'm often quite, when it comes to kind of praising or complimenting somebody, sometimes I get shy because I think, oh, my words are not going to come out right, or I'm going to embarrass myself in some way. And sometimes I feel that when someone comes to say something to me, that they've had to like work themselves up to come and talk to me and say that. So if I was to be like, oh no, it's not very nice, it gives them this kind of incompleteness. So receiving it graciously, but then knowing, okay, this doesn't belong to me. I accept the encouragement part of it, because we all need encouragement. But then, offering it to Krishna, offering it to my guru, understanding that, without them, I wouldn't have anything of value to give. So that's the way that I deal with it. But 100% there's pride, in there. We all have that tendency. And my feeling on that is that if we have a talent for something, if we're good at something, if we're just afraid that, oh, I won't do that because I might feel proud, then that pride will never have the opportunity to get purified. it's going to be purified by doing the thing itself. So the more that comes up, it's actually a good thing, because it's like burning off the, you know, it's already there. So why not do it? And if it comes up, and, you know, if we have to sometimes have some humbling experiences, then that's also helpful. Like I know, you know, I had a really embarrassing moment one time leading a kirtan. It was in Oxford in England, and I was anyway very nervous, but, you know, part of being nervous is self-consciousness, is pride, because you don't want to feel embarrassed in front of people. So I wanted to sing the song Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, and I was thinking to tell the story of Bilvamangal Thakur, who's the author of that song. But I hadn't really prepared well in advance. I guess that seems to be my trend. And I guess I felt overconfident that I knew the story. But I started the story and I was trying to tell it in a very animated way. And halfway through, not only did I forget the ending, I forgot some details. I brought it to a point, and then it was like my mind was blank. And I looked to someone in the audience who was kind of a teacher of mine, you know, saying, "Oh, I said, can you finish the rest of the story?" And he was like, "No, you started it. You you finished the story." And I said, "Okay, we'll finish the rest later after the song." And I was like bright red, my hand was trembling. And I felt so embarrassed after that. And it's one of the experiences which I call upon when I think, okay, if I feel nervous of embarrassing myself, I think, oh, it's okay, it's already happened. You know, that was a really bad one. That was really like dying in front of people. And it happens because, you know, because we're fallible human beings. We're just trying to make an offering with whatever we do. So, but better do it than not do it. That's, you know, I have to tell myself that. I have to hear that from others a lot, but it's easier for me to tell that. So to you, I say, Martina, better do it than not do it. I know you are a beautiful singer and kirtan leader, so please keep going with that. And Belinda, how to sign up for the newsletter. If you go to my website, there should be a pop-up screen that will come up, enabling you to just put your email address. And we try to send those a few times a month. Sometimes it's based on events, sometimes it's just news. Sometimes there's a few affiliated projects that I share about, like the Vani learning platform that I have a pre-recorded course there. So yeah, I appreciate being able to stay connected like that too, because it's not always easy to be in personal communication with everyone, but that way through a newsletter, I can update on what's going on. Diran says, any dates in March for live performances in California? I'm trying to confirm something right now. It might be the end of March. But I will, yeah, I don't have anything confirmed right now, but I will let you know as soon as I do. And Diran, remind me where you are in California, because I know that I actually met someone at the Govardhan Eco Village who lives 10 minutes away from me, which was really interesting. Okay, so I think we are over time officially. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, you're in Burlingame. Okay, amazing. So I'm in Palo Alto. I think you maybe already knew that. So we're quite close. I look forward to seeing you. And yeah, possibly for the festivals that happen at the ISKCON Silicon Valley. I'm not always there, but there's festivals coming up. I may well be there, and that's going to be more of a spontaneous one. So I don't know if you, it's the ISKCON Silicon Valley. So it's the ISKCON temple in Mountain View. That's where that's the closest temple to me where I visit. Okay, so thank you all again. And let me just check our next date, I think is, some of you probably know, I already put it up. yeah, for anyone who didn't see my posts, I'm starting to post the dates in advance for 2 or 3, months in advance, just so you can be prepared for those of you who do want to make a priority to join these meetings. I know not everyone has the time, but I think our next was on March the 4th, but you can check the dates that I posted up. And our second one in March is on a very special day, which is Gora Purnima. That time we're going to actually be doing our meeting on that day. And that's the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya. So very, very special day. And I think last year, I feel like I remember we made it a little bit of a celebratory, festive one. So we'll try and see what we can do to make it really special. But until then, please do feel free to stay in touch on the message board. Thank you all so much for your support, your encouragement, and looking forward to see you again. And like I said, I'll post some things leading up to Nityananda's birthday on Wednesday, and we can stay in touch with whatever questions or thoughts you have about that as well. I'm going to ask Belinda to stay on a little bit just to quickly speak with you about connections near you. And thank you so much again to everybody. I'll post up the recording as well. Oops, where did that go? Okay, see you soon. Actually, Belinda, we can just start chatting now. And
Thank you. Great.
Lovely to see Juliet Janavi there. Hi. Lovely to see you, Anita. Thank you so much, Sachin. Thank you, Badr.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Belinda.
Thank you so much. I know you're very busy, and I want to thank you for the info you sent me today. That was
Yeah.
really kind of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. So I just wanted to give a little bit more background on those.
Great.
So Bhaktivinoda is a friend of ours that we know. His name is also Bob Healy.
Oh,
I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's been leading kirtan around the South Jersey area. So he posts on his Instagram whenever he's doing a kirtan. So a lot of South Jersey yoga studios, like especially around Marlton and what was the other place? Not Haddonfield, but what's that? Mount Laurel. Yeah, so he's actually he's quite inspired and enthusiastic, so he does things quite regularly. And I figured those might be somewhat within distance for you. And he's a great person to also, I think, plug in with, because he's really inspired to try to stir up more Bhakti community in South Jersey. I know you're a little more, you're in Princeton?
in Princeton, yeah.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Vineet.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm excited to meet with him.
Oh,
And
great.
he told me he practices, obviously he's a Bhakti practitioner, and we've been going back and forth
Great.
because very busy time, on campus right now.
Yes.
So looking forward to connecting with him.
Okay, Vineet, yeah, he's probably your best connection for things that are happening in Princeton, especially with
Good.
university. There's another, had anyone told you about the ISKCON temple in central New Jersey? It's in Plainfield.
Oh, your sister told me.
Yeah.
Told me that on the day I met her. She said, "Oh, do you know about this?" It's a bit far.
It's a bit far, yeah.
It is closer, actually. I tried
closer?
going to the one in Philadelphia,
Oh, yeah.
right outside of I think it was near East Falls.
Area.
Yes, no one was there. I went all around the
Yeah,
building.
I know. You said that. That was so unfortunate.
Nobody there.
So my husband definitely knows a few people there. We could try to connect you with, like, because I know that they started this, I think it was called Bhakti Studio or something, but basically they started a kind of yoga classes and something called Krishna House. They started this program there where there's some young people living there and they're having regular events throughout the week, but I just don't know the full details. So I'll find the link for that and share that with you. And yeah, it's odd that nobody was there. I actually don't know the temple well myself, but
Okay.
Philly, or it wasn't the downtown like South Street.
No, it was
No, it
in a
was
little suburb nearby.
residential. Yeah,
I
I know
forget
the
the name.
one. Yeah, I know the one. So yeah,
Germantown.
I don't know why nobody was there. It's unusual, but
Yeah.
definitely there's definitely things happening. And
Thank you. I really
yeah.
appreciate it. And you can tell your husband, who's obviously somewhere in the background, that
Yeah.
I saw that he was a chaplain, and that's why you guys moved to San Francisco. And I was a therapist at Princeton.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I saw that he became a chaplain, you know, in Hindu and Bhakti tradition, he inspired me to look into becoming a chaplain, although I
Wow.
can become one in the Hindu tradition. I don't know enough, more of an interfaith kind of chaplain, but it was because of his connection to the chaplaincy institute, or I forget the name of it, that I'm now following that path.
Oh,
So
wow.
I wanted to know, well, why is she moving? And then I saw he was becoming a chaplain, and I had always been a therapist. And
Mhm.
so I'm pivoting a little bit, actually,
That's
because
so
I saw
cool.
that he's the chaplain. Because-
Wow.
yeah.
He can hear you. He's
Oh,
here.
good. Well, nice to meet you. I met him at your concert.
Hi.
Oh, he's really right here. Hello.
Sorry, we're in
Yes.
the middle of a puja.
No, it's okay. Your journey inspired me because I've been a therapist for like 30 years,
Yes.
mostly on campuses. And I really wanted to integrate just spiritual growth and perspectives. And when I saw how you had become a chaplain, I said, wow, let me look into that. So now
Yeah.
I'm doing that. So
That's
thank you.
great. It's anyway, it's not as, even for me, it's not as much about Hinduism, though I find it that I'd like to develop